I'll tackle it next year. I'll do it next week. I'll save that for tomorrow. I think we're all guilty of putting off things in life, from house projects to doctor visits, and yes, our financials. Today we're going to talk about 5 financial matters, from taxes, estate planning, Social Security, and more, where yes, sometimes it can be beneficial to you to put those things off to a later date, but also understanding how putting some of these off can potentially hurt your financial future.
Welcome to the Your Life, Your Money podcast with Scott Searins, teaching you how to thrive in life, wealth, and retirement.
Welcome into Your Life, Your Money, helping you thrive in life, wealth, and retirement. I'm Ben George, Scott Searins, President and Financial Advisor over at Searins Financial Group. We're talking about putting it off. Can you put these things off in financial planning? We like to procrastinate. I think that's just kind of what we do, Scott, right? We like to, hey, if we can put off this thing for a little bit later, whether it be to save a little bit of money, just to take away some stress, whatever it is. But there's some things you need to take care of now with financial planning. We'll talk about that today.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Like you said, I think there's things that we just tend to keep pushing off, but things that need to be addressed now, and things where it actually is okay to let it go for a few years. So, Ben, how's everything in your world? How's summer's kicking off? Any big summer projects around your house?
I got a few, we're talking about putting it off. I got a few things that I probably need to get taken care of. My gutters haven't been in great shape, so I need to probably get those replaced at some point. So that's on my list to do. Also, I've had this leak in the ground, this kind of a wet spot, wet patch in the yard, a little away from the house, and it's been there for about 6 months. I finally had somebody come out and like one of those leak identifiers that was able to figure out where it was coming from. Now I just got to get somebody out there to dig it up and replace the pipe. So a couple things I'm putting off right now, Scott. How about you?
I think it's natural, right? Yeah. Last year, my project at the end of the summer was getting my grass in order. It's always been great, but last year was just kind of funky in Illinois, so there was something, I think a little bit of disease that must have been going through the grass, so I did that last fall. That was a lot of work. But this summer, I want to get some lights on my fence that go around my property, some patio lights just around my backyard patio there. And I'll admit, I've been putting some things off too. My house needs new windows pretty bad. And so that's one thing I've been putting off, and I think this summer might be the summer. But see, that there's that word, right? Might do it this summer.
Yeah.
And it's a big ticket item, so I guess it's just natural, right? Sometimes we look at those costs going, okay, do we really want to do it? Is this the year to do it? And so that's I guess that's the one I'm putting off, but a lot of good projects, good plans, and looking forward to enjoying it as well.
Yeah, I forgot too that we actually had to replace the coil in our AC unit about a month ago too, so that was already taken care of. So it's also one of these things too, Scott. I don't want to get too deep into this, but I kind of weigh the costs versus how long do I want to stay in the house, right? Because right now in this housing market that we're in, like, you're almost better off not fixing some of these bigger things, right? Because it doesn't put your house at risk of selling, because the market's so hot that people will be like, okay, that's just going to be part of the cost of getting into this house. So I've kind of gone back and forth on what needs to get done and what can we wait as long as possible in case we decide to move.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, if you are looking to move, some of the things, it's a really good point. Some of the things are actually easy to put off because the house will sell no matter what. But it could be interesting, though, if the market shifts, interest rates going up, mortgage, so it takes the pool of buyers, because mortgage rates then go up, and it takes that pool of buyers and makes them a little bit, smaller. At some point in time, I'm not saying right away, but at some point in time, if interest rates and mortgage rates keep going up, I think that housing market could definitely shift. But was just talking with a few realtors actually this week, and boy, just in some of the areas around us here in Illinois, they're like, market's still hot. There's still multiple offers coming on homes, and it makes you kind of do that cost benefit analysis.
Yeah, and I also had the thought too, like, well, with interest rates going up and I'm locked in under 4, like I might just stay in this house longer than I anticipated and just make it work, because of interest rates to where they are. So it's a crazy time right now, and a lot to be thinking through. So hopefully everyone's doing well as we get into this. So we want to talk about some of these things that we might put off too with our finances and our planning, and some things, as you pointed out, Scott, there are some things that you can't put off, which is good to know, but some things that aren't possible and some things that need your attention immediately. So we want to make sure you are taking care of what you need to when you need to. So let's talk about some of these things, Scott, and let's lead off with deferring taxes. Is it a good thing or bad thing to put off taxes to a later date?
And this is one where I would say it depends. And first off, I think it's important to understand, how do people defer taxes? And the way that they're doing that is by putting money into their 401ks, IRAs, 403b, 457 plans. So if anybody out there is listening going, oh yeah, I put some money into those types of accounts, then they're deferring taxes, because they're basically taking a tax deduction today and they're putting off paying tax on that money until a later date. So if you've got $1 million in that 401k, well, you've put off all the taxes. You actually don't own $1 million. You own $1 million less the taxes that you're going to pay when you do start withdrawing that money. So the reason I say that one depends is because it really depends on a few different things. One, what do you think that the tax rates will be in the future versus where they are at today? And I'm not sure about you, Ben, but with all of the spending and debt that, took place not only through COVID, but just prior to that, right? I mean, I think there's that, what is it, like usdebtclock.com or .org or
Yep.
.gov, something like that. And if you pull it up and look at it, it's just this counting clock of the national debt continuously going up. And most people, and I'm just going to give you my opinion is at some point in time, taxes have to go up to pay for all this debt. Your thoughts?
Well, I just pulled it up. usdebtclock.org. It's one of the more depressing sites to look at. As national debt is just climbing by about 100,000 every, it seems, about 5 seconds. So,
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that and you go, man, I mean, something has to be done, right? So I think it's hard to argue that taxes won't go up just by all the money that's coming in. And then all the conversations we're hearing right now, Scott, on things that that the government wants to take care of, right? Like student debt and these other issues that are out there with inflation rising. So I know they've talked about taxes for the 1%, but it seems like even raising taxes there probably is not going to be enough to take care of everything that we see in this U.S. debt clock.
Yeah, and just, looking at what we've got in place now, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which came into effect in 2017, actually had an expiration date to it of the end of 2025. And this one, to me, it doesn't matter which side of the political fence you sit on. This is one where it's like both sides of Congress. It's just easy for them to wipe their hands and go, nah, we're not going to renew that bill. We're not going to renew those tax cuts. Let them expire and let tax rates go up to help cover some of this debt. So the one reason I say it depends is, do you think tax rates will be higher in the future versus today? The other thing to look at, though, because tax rates could be higher, but what if your actual taxable income is lower in the future? And so there's 2 parts. There's tax rates, which you think those will be at in the future, and then where do you think that your taxable income will be in the future versus where it is today? And I'll give you a quick story here of a client, and when they came in to first meet with me, they were saving all of their money into their 401k. And great, they were saving, right? They're doing a great job saving for their retirement, saving for their future. However, when we ran some projections, and again, just projections, looking at their future, looking at Social Security that they'll have coming in, pension income that they'll have coming in, and this is just for other people to think about too. Maybe you'll have some rental income coming in. But the one key piece was looking at their 401ks, but then the 401ks, or that tax deferred bucket, could be IRAs, etc. You have to take the required minimum distributions from that bucket. It's that forced withdrawal that the government makes you take. And so when we started projecting that out for their future, because those required distributions actually go up over time. The amount could go up if your account is growing. Well, their taxable income was going to be higher in the future than where it actually is for them today. And so saving for them today in that tax deferred bucket, they were actually costing them more in potential future taxes.
Gotcha.
And so right there, we're like, oh, wait a second. For this couple, it did not make sense to defer taxes any longer. And we switched around which bucket that they were saving their money into, putting money into the Roth 401k, putting money into a brokerage account. So it really depends. It depends, again, on where do you think tax rates will be in the future, and where do you think that your taxable income will be in the future. But if you've saved, $500,000, $1 million, $2 million or more into that 401k bucket, it's really important to do that tax planning that we do for clients in those tax projections, because you could actually be putting money into a tax bucket or into an account that's going to cost you more in the future than what it's maybe costing you today. So really important. That one is, it depends on putting it off, and it's important to do the tax projection to understand which is the most appropriate scenario for you.
All right, so that's the first one, deferring taxes. It depends. Could be okay to do. You might want to pay them now. It just depends. All right, so debt. That's next. Paying off debt. I know we have these conversations a lot about we want to get down our debt, especially consumer debt. Maybe mortgage debt's a little bit different. But where do you stand, Scott? Is this something we can't afford to put off, or is this something we have to pay attention to immediately?
I think this one's kind of like failing to work out and exercise, right? And then your body starts to become a little bit unhealthy. And then if you just kind of continue to do that or continue to fail to do that, it's something that snowballs and can just put your health into a really, really bad situation. So when it comes to eliminating debt, this is one where I'd say it's really bad to put it off. And when you're carrying debt, you're actually paying the banks, lenders for money versus, right? So if, there's the number side of things. So the number side of things is that when you have a loan, when you have debt, when you're paying interest, you're paying somebody else to have money. Another thing from the numbers perspective of it is I know a lot of times people have variable loans, like home equity loans. I was just working through this with a client. He had a home equity line of credit, not a home equity loan, home equity line of credit. And that was actually a variable rate loan. And if we're not, we got to pay attention, because just like we were talking about mortgage rates going up, with interest rates going up, these variable loan rates can go up as well. Next thing you know, you might have started at a 2.5% rate, and next thing you know, you're at 5% or 6% or 7% because interest rates are climbing. So understanding where your debt is at, it is something that can snowball in the wrong direction from a numbers perspective. But then I think that there's also the emotional side of things. And I work with a lot of people that have gotten themselves out of debt. They've paid off that mortgage. They don't have any loans going into, their retirement. And I will say this, and it's just kind of a feeling and an opinion of mine, but those without debt seem a lot less stressed going into that next stage of life where, they won't have that company paycheck coming in anymore. So no debt, pre-retirement, think about this. The quicker that you can get rid of that debt, so instead of paying the banks and paying the lenders for money, you're now putting all of your money to work for you. You become an owner, a stockholder, a shareholder, where your money is actually kind of in essence being loaned out to somebody else, right? Because you're becoming a shareholder of that company versus you paying the banks and lenders for money. That's how you build wealth. That's how you build equity in your overall portfolio. Post-retirement, having that debt around, when you no longer have that company paycheck coming in, paying those bills, or I'll say not having debt, takes a lot of stress off of your portfolio because you don't have to make those withdrawals from the portfolio. So this is one where, hey, I would say focus on it now, tackle it now, because it is something that can really snowball in the wrong direction and would be a bad one to put off.
All right, so good one there, eliminating debt. All right, estate planning. This is one I think that we all try to put off as long as possible, setting up those legal documents as estate documents. Scott, for whatever reason, we just don't feel like we need to do it today. But can we afford to wait?
This is another one where I feel unfortunately, it is bad to put off. And I'm going to give you some scenarios and examples. I feel this one's like going to the doctor, right? If we know that we've got maybe a potential issue going on, a lot of people will say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next day. I'll call tomorrow. And then maybe something else happens into like someone you're close to, right? A family member, a loved one, a parent, a grandparent, where something happens to them with that issue. And then all of a sudden, what do? You immediately go to the doctor because you're like, I got to get this figured out. And I see this happens a lot with estate planning where people put it off and then they actually go through that issue with a parent or a grandparent and see the other side of the reason why it's bad to put off, and then they go and do it right away. So let me just talk first about the estate documents that you want to have in place and then why they're so important. So one is having a will in place. The other is, and some people need this, some don't, maybe need a trust in place. And then two documents that are really important, and I'll explain why, is your power of attorney for property and your power of attorney for healthcare decisions. And here's why. In the event, let's just say, Ben, something were to happen to you. And you're like, oh, wait a second, you're in the hospital and you are unable to pay your bills. And, somebody close to you comes into my office and says, okay, hey, Scott, I'm here to help Ben pay his bills because he's in the hospital. He's not able to do it himself. And I would have to say, are you the power of attorney for property? No, Ben doesn't have one in place. It becomes really difficult then to be able to help anybody help you pay your bills. Mm-hmm. And that's where that difficulty comes, especially, as we get older in life, we become more susceptible to health problems, but it could happen at any point in time. And so having that power of attorney of property, if that person would come in and say, yep, I'm Ben's power of attorney, we've got the doctor's note here, then I can easily work with that person and say, okay, what do we need to do to help you help Ben? So that's one thing. On the health side, similar there, you might need somebody to help you make health decisions if you're unable to do it on your own. And so naming that power of attorney for, healthcare decisions allows that person to help you make decisions in the event that point came to be. So really important to have those documents in place, the wills, the trust. That helps you avoid really helps your heirs avoid the probate process. So you're putting somebody else in a really good, organized position. And, I see all the time where unfortunately these documents don't get in place, and it will take people months or years to sort through everything just because the appropriate paperwork's not in place.
Yeah, a lot to think about there and reasons why you would want to go ahead and get that taken care of. And there's some great ones to make that a priority. So make sure you do that. All right. I like this next one, Scott, Social Security. We always can debate whether or not, hey, should I claim it as soon as I can at 62? Is it best to wait till that benefit is maximized, or is it best to do it somewhere in the middle? So Social Security, is this something we can put off?
This is another one, I think, just like our first one that we talked about, deferring taxes, this would be another one where I say it depends. And just kind of that overview again on Social Security, you could start it as early as age 62, but taking it at that age, you'll take a reduced amount. There's full retirement age. So in that Social Security statement, it calls it your primary insurance amount. That's the amount you'd get at full retirement age. That's all based on when you were born. Or you could wait as late as age 70 to take it as well. And the reason why some people would want to wait is because every year that you wait, so from full retirement age to age 70, your Social Security is going to get an 8% bump for each and every year that you wait. Age 70 is the latest year. That's when you have to take it. So here's a couple factors to consider, and this is why I say it depends. I think a lot of people only look at the first factor, and that's longevity, right? Ben, I hear all the time, well, I've paid into this for a lifetime. I want to get the most out of it.
Yeah.
And so then we try to do this calculation based on how long we're going to live, which none of us know. And, a lot of people just make a decision based on that. The other part that we factor in when doing Social Security planning with folks is how much do they have saved up? Because the trouble is that if you take it too early and you don't have enough money saved up, now you need to make too big of withdrawals from your portfolios, and then you take this chance that your money might not last, or you just are having to cut your overall lifestyle expenses because you took Social Security too early and you didn't have enough saved up. However, for those that have, more than enough saved up, maybe then you wait till full retirement age, you take it and you reinvest it because you're like, you know what, I've got enough saved up and I'm never going to run out of money based on what I've saved, so everything's okay. So that's why I say it depends. The other one other thing to factor, and maybe there's a mix here of, let's say you're a married couple, maybe there's a mix. Maybe one person takes it at full retirement age, but the other spouse waits until age 70. And the reason why I like to utilize that mix with clients is that if one spouse passes away, you only keep one of the two Social Securities and you keep the higher of the two. And so if you think about it, one person's passing away, you're going to take a cut in income. Having that bigger, larger Social Security is really going to help the remaining spouse in their lifetime. So that one depends, but it's part of our overall process, doing the income plan, determining which combination, kind of think about it like a lock, right? Which combination is best to help make the money last, help maximize income, and help maximize Social Security as well.
Yeah, that's a good one. You want to sit down and definitely be talking with your advisor ahead of time before you get to 62 to make sure you have a plan. You don't want to go ahead and pull the trigger and then go, oh, well, maybe I should have waited, because it really makes it pretty difficult to try to go back on Social Security. All right, one last one here, Scott. Putting a plan in place, getting a plan, building one with an advisor. I know a lot of people may try to do their financial planning on their own, especially earlier in their career when they know they just need to save money and just kind of stock it away for later. But can we afford to put off a plan for a long time? How long can we wait to put this off?
This is one thing that I'm just going to say today is always the right day to put together a plan. But of course, everybody's going to say, well, he's an advisor. Of course, he's going to say that. But I'll give you just some thoughts in regards to this of people I've sat down with that have gone through our process of putting together their income, investments, and tax plans. And once they get done, and as we're showing them, some potential pitfalls in their overall plan, but opportunities, and then the strategies that we'd use to, help them going forward. I hear this all the time, Ben. I wish I would have done this a year ago. I wish I would have done this 5 years ago. I've got one client, in their 70s that they're saying, I really, really wish I would have done this 10 to 15 years ago, if not longer, because of the tax situation that they've now put themselves into. Mm-hmm. And so I think now is always the time. And really, when we talk about plan, to me, that gets broken down into parts and pieces. There's an income plan. And if you're pre-retirement, it means how much do you need to save? If you're post or if you're, approaching retirement, it's when can you retire and how much will you be able to withdraw from your accounts? How big of a retirement paycheck will you be able to cut? And how do we make that retirement paycheck last? There's the investment plan, meaning making sure we've got enough in your war chest so that you can retire. And if we're having a down, market like what we're seeing today, that's not going to impact your retirement date or your retirement plan. You've already carved off the money that you need for withdrawal purposes, but you also have your equity, your growth side for growing because inflation, right? Because the cost of goods and services will continue to go up. So you've got your growth side as well. So income plan, investment plan, and then the last one, which coincides with the first thing that we were talking about there is your tax plan. And I'll just kind of, summarize this one. Either you can have a tax plan in place trying to do what's best for your future and keeping more of your retirement savings or hard-earned, earned money with you and in your pocket versus giving it to the IRS, or the IRS has a plan for you, meaning you're not really planning at all and you're just going to, probably be paying the maximum to the IRS based on not trying to utilize tax diversification. So to me, it's important. It's going to help, again, potentially save you money in taxes, make sure that you're ready to retire, understand and have confidence moving into that next step, and then having your money situated so it can support you in a good economy or in a poor economy.
Well, if you want to get your plan in place, if you've been waiting and you decide, I don't want to put this off any longer, if you want to learn more about Scott's Retirement 360 Blueprint process, so log on, lifemoneyshow.com. You can check out all of our episodes there, not only of the podcast, but also videos that Scott does as well. But you can also book a call online if you're going to do that as well. So plenty to get there on the website. Again, lifemoneyshow.com. But you can also call Scott directly at 847-235-6989. Got one mailbag question I want to run by you real quick before we get out of here, Scott. Came in from Steve. He says, I'm thinking about having my mom sign her house over to me so that she won't have to sell it if she goes into the nursing home and runs out of money. Is this a smart move?
Well, very great by Steve, right? He's really thinking ahead here for his mother and just kind of for their overall family planning. And this goes kind of with, hey, should we do it now? Should we put it off? And this is another one where it depends. And a lot of it, here's a few things for Steve to think about. A lot of states have what they call as a 5-year look back. So for instance, I'm in Illinois, there's a 5-year look back, meaning if Steve's mother were just to give him the home and then within 5 years she goes into the nursing home and runs out of money, well, the government's going to say, is there anything that you gave away in the last 5 years that was an asset that could have been used to pay for, the cost of being in this nursing home? And they'd look at that and go, oh, yep, you gave that home to Steve, and now it becomes part of the process. And so, one, do you feel like, hey, your mother's, health is good enough and you won't have any troubles of running out of money for at least 5 years? Then now's a great time to do it. If all of that's potentially going to happen within 5 years, well, really, you're going through a lot of hassle, in which case that home will be still considered part of your mother's assets and paying those nursing home bills, and then I'd recommend not doing it. The other thing that Steve would really need to think about here is, does he, in the event that, there's a mortgage, does he have the money to pay for that mortgage if his mother's not able to? What about the property taxes, homeowners insurance? So there's going to be costs associated with that property. Have you thought about those costs? Have you planned for those costs? The other thing, and actually we just worked through this with a client where, they have I'll call it a lake home, and it's really important for them to keep that lake home in the family. And one thing Steve could consider, right? So instead of trying to figure out this 5-year rule and, what if something happens prior to the 5 years, is Steve could just consider buying it from his mother and, utilizing that as a way to keep it in the family versus signing it over. And then that way they don't have to worry about the 5-year look back rule. And that's what our client ended up doing, was just, purchasing that home from the parent to be able to make sure that they keep it in the family. And then the parent's going to, pay them part of the rent or part of the property taxes as things go along. So a few different ways to look at it, but I would highly recommend just talking with an advisor, talking with a tax person, and then considering looping in an attorney as well, just to make sure everything's happening in your best interest.
All right. Great question. Thank you, Steve, for sending that in, and thanks for taking us through all those considerations, Scott. We appreciate that. All right. Well, that'll do it for us on this episode of Your Life, Your Money. We appreciate it. Find us online at lifemoneyshow.com, and also to jot down this number to call Scott if you have any questions, want to start your planning, want to decide, hey, can I put off some of these things or not, and want to get a second opinion. You can always do that at 847-235-6989. All right, Scott. Time to get working on those projects and failing to procrastinate any longer. That's my goal as we move.
You got it, Ben. We'll just
have
to hold each other accountable.
Exactly. We appreciate it. I'll look forward to talking to you next week.
Sierens Financial Group is an independent financial services firm that utilizes a variety of investment and insurance products. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and Sierens Financial Group, Inc. are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Sierens Financial Group, Inc. is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein, provided by third parties, have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Sierens Financial Group, Inc.